Hello, art buddies. Come on in. Welcome to Bricolage Daily with Paint Girly. Well, they say the third time's the charm, so let's hope. Let's hope that that's true. Um, I'm just sitting at my desk. I haven't done a Bricolage Daily for quite some time, so I thought I would just turn my camera on today. And my camera's been kind of wigging out, and then my mic was off, and oh my goodness, time to relax and maybe dye some paper. So I'm just going to show you what I like to do. It's not rocket science. Of course, you can always go online and purchase dyed paper and get exactly what you want. But if that's not in your budget and you thought you might like to mess around with some dyeing paper, but you don't have a lot of room and you don't know where to start, this is just very basic and really quite simple. I'm not an expert. I just do what I want so I have some paper to use. So right here what I have is, you know how you can get a composition book and a lot of times they're stitched in, but sometimes you'll get some where it's perforated on the left-hand side towards the spine. Well, that's what these papers are. These papers are out of a composition book that was perforated. That's why it looks all nice and perfect here. So what I've done is I just boiled some water and I took some instant coffee and dumped in a bunch, stirred it up, let it cool off. I don't know that you have to let it cool off, but you don't want to burn yourself. And I've got a big stack of paper here, all different kinds that I want to work with. And I just have it down on my desk. But if you want to kind of control the wetness of using some kind of dye or some kind of medium, put it in a cookie sheet or maybe one of those disposable pans you can get at the dollar store. That would work. Sometimes I do it on my ShamWow, but my ShamWow has been AOL for a little while. And I'm just stacking this paper on top of itself. And I've got a big brush. I'm just dipping it into my coffee and painting it on. Now you could let this dry naturally, which I don't have room for that to spread out all my paper, you know, if I want to do a bunch. Because it's nice to have if you're building a journal or you want to do a collage or maybe a cluster and you want some stained paper. It's nice to have some in reserve. So I like to do a bunch when I'm in the mood. Now I have tried a couple of different things. I put my coffee in a pan and dipped my papers or doilies, you know, whatever you're working with. But I seem to like to paint it on. Now, if you don't have a big brush like this, you could use a foam brush. You could really just dump a little bit on, use your fingers if you had to, and spread it around. Of course, you're going to smell like coffee for quite some time. And then I've put this on cookie sheets and put it in my oven, like 200, 250 degrees. Put 5 or 6 sheets on a cookie sheet, whatever fits, and then turn it and flip them. I'm not crazy about that. That hurts my back, but it works for a lot of people. And your paper gets a nice crunch to it. I can't explain it. It's just really delish. So I want to try a couple of different things here while I'm just fussing around at my desk. I'm going to use my iron. Now, I've done this before on a live, I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to iron mine up. The pages aren't real super wet, and I want to try some different things that I haven't tried before. I'm just trying to think what I can. Oh, you know what? I probably have those little, and you can mix stuff too. I don't think you're going to cause an explosion. But the more you dabble, the more you learn, and You might discover something fun. Look, I have this little container. Now, you might not have all this stuff, but if you've got watercolor, you can really water that up and make it runny, paint it on, do the same thing. Or a little bit of acrylic paint. I think that would work. And then, see, I pulled out a couple of these. If you're like me, you've spent years um, buying different things to use in your art, and then sometimes you forget you have them. So I pulled out 2 distress sprays. Now, I don't want to spray it because that gives it a whole different look. I want it more uniform, and I want the paper to look dyed, not spattered, if that makes any kind of sense. So I've got this stack of composition paper. I've got a stack of graph paper that my husband used to use when he measured carpet. And then I was somewhere, and this was in a book too that I tore the pages out. And I'm probably not going to ever use them just like that. I like to have pages in my journals treated with something. It's just me. That may not be your thing, so that's good too. That's fine. But a couple of other things you can do. So I'm just setting this aside till I'm going to get a stack together. And I'm just going to wet some of this paper. And I'm going to make this marble type paper. So you just dampen your paper and just crunch it up in a little ball. See, and then I get some kind of a container, usually larger than this, but this will do for today. So I'm going to crunch that up. This is just plain water. Now you can crunch it without the water, but sometimes your paper tears. And you want it to be pretty damp because when you put your color on it, you want it to wick. You want the paper to suck it in. So a little bit of moistness like that. See, and then I just stack them in there. I first saw Lisa Conway do this. Lisa, my eclectic life channel on YouTube. And I think she let hers dry and then she unraveled it and straightened it out. But I like to unravel mine while it's damp, so I don't get as much tear. So I'm going to do a few more to fill this little bin. Usually I do a big pan, like a roasting pan. Now, if you have a sunny day, which it is sunny here, but it's also, we've got 5 inches of snow out there, so it's chilly. If you've got any ink, acrylic ink, the watercolor paper, the coffee dye that you've made, you can get an eyedropper or one of these little pipette things, and you just take your color, whatever you are working with, and you drip it down in your paper. Now I want to grab some of this. I'm going to grab some of this barn door. Now you might be working on a specific journal and a specific color wave, for a project. Then you want to use those colors. You can mix different colors. So I'm just dripping this down in those little balls of paper. I could squirt more water on there too, I think. If you think it's not, moving the way you want it to. See, and it's all contained. So there's not a whole lot of mess. Now, I want to dye, maybe get some red paper. So I'm going to use, again, my little barnyard. Just going to put a little bit in this other little container, and I'm going to water that down. That's silly. That's silly. Let's see what that looks like. And I'm going to use the same brush I was using in my coffee. Ooh, lovely. Now, don't forget, you can drip, do different brush strokes. Sometimes I just feel like vegging. Now, this other color I have out here called tea dye. It does have a reddish kind of tone to it. And I'm just sitting that off to the side till I get my that coffee stain, and the red kind of looks nice. I think that's kind of what this tea dye color is. I have it in an ink pad. Let's just spray this. Ooh, that does look yummy, huh? Now, if you do spray, it is going to go all over. It's going to go spray all over your surface. So you want to move anything that's not, that you don't want to be sprayed. It kind of looks cool. Now, I don't usually have too much use of red paper, but you might want a tag, or, you know, you can do whatever you want, really, right? And different paper is going to react different ways to what you put on it. It looks cool to me. I've got some stuff I may need to move out of the way there. That sucked right through pretty well. Okay. I'm going to see what just the tea dye. See, I'm getting the overspray here. If you're working in a jelly roll pan or a cookie sheet, that'll all gather at the bottom. You won't have it running all over your table or the surface that you're working on. You know, I always say, do as I say, don't do as I do. So I hope your year has started off well. It's been a little crazy here, as usual. That looks kind of cool. It's kind of beading up a little bit. That looks cool, doesn't it? I don't know why that would be. Okay, so the Bricolage Daily videos, I try not to stay on too long. You know, it's not a marathon. It's more like a sprint. A sprint. So I'm going to put that off to the side. Now I'm going to take my stack of paper, move that aside. Now I'm just going to iron on top of this towel. So if you've been following me on my channel, I do appreciate that so very much. But you also know that I'm a little lazy. So, like, I'm not going to be setting up an ironing board. I keep my iron right behind it's a craft iron. And I keep it right behind my sewing machine to my left here. So I'm just going to grab it. Now once I move it, it turns on. Yeah, it's a big Jagunda one. But I've said this before too. I tried a small one, and it just didn't have enough heat. See, so everything is really contained here in my really like my 15 by 15 inch space. And sometimes I take 1 or 2 sheets of paper at a time. It just depends. And then I iron it. And it dries it out, and it's yummy. Now you have to be careful till you feel how your iron is going to handle the paper. So I just do a light touch to kind of get that rolling. That's really quite nice. It's got a little red undertone and the brown. Boom. It's good to go. So I'm not really touching the paper right off. I'm kind of gliding over top of it, like hovering, and it's making that steam and it's evaporating the water from the paper. Because if it sticks to the iron, it's gonna tear and scratch. You know, it'll. I don't know that it'll burn, but you want to be careful. This one's really red. So now I'm sitting in my desk chair. My back is not bothering me. I'm kind of in control of what I'm doing. Now let's dig a piece of. I want you to see the difference here. This was the first red, the full-on distress stain with the watered down. Now I thought the lines would bleed a little bit more on this construction paper, but it really didn't. The lines are holding up pretty well. All right, now so here is some of my coffee stain papers. And you can see, I think you'll be able to see little red spots here where I stacked the red paper on top. Now once you stack the wet paper on top of itself, it can stick to itself, and so you might have some of it tear, so you kind of have to be careful there. So there's the coffee stain. This is the red distress stain. And this is the combo of the two. I like all three. Got a little bit of carriage there. It's okay though. Kind of looks cool. And it just gets that crunchy, cool. Now I haven't done the marbled paper for a while. When I did it before, I did very bright colors. I still have tons of it left. I don't know what I was thinking, because I mostly use muted colors in my journals. I'm liking that. All right, so here's our little bin. So I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to carefully unfold it, uncrinkle it, see what we got. I'm trying not to hit my arm on my hot iron. Let me move that out of the way. So I'm very gently just opening up that paper. And I'm going to do the same thing. And here's our different varieties. Let's pull out another piece. Now this one I put a little more of the coffee on this one. I just added a few drops, it looks like, of the red. Believe me, if you let this dry and unfold it, you're going to get a lot of, I mean, it's going to tear probably anyway. See, it tore up here again. See, I've got a tear there. But you know, that adds to the charm of the page. I'm just hovering over top. Flip it over. To me, this is a very controlled way to try your hand at dyeing some paper. There's some things that we do in art, and you might think, oh, I'd like to try that. And then you think, you know, I have a small space, or it seems like a lot of prep, and I'd like to try it, but I don't know if I could really do it. Let's try one more. Let's get that graph paper out. Now this is cool because the lines are bleeding. I forgot this was 3-hole punch. I'm thinking, look at those perfect holes. How did I do that? Duh. It almost resembles Eco Dyed. It's kind of cool because you don't know what you're going to get. Do you have any of that Tattered Angels product with the shimmer? That looks cool too because then you get a little vein of the metallic-y kind of glistening. All right, let's try. I said I didn't want to be here too long, but see now my brain is going. Let's see, half an hour, just about a half an hour. Let's try a little acrylic. So here I've got my Blue Harbor. Let's see if I can grab one of my little. I'm just going to put a little drip of paint in there. Put that right back where it belongs. And now I'm looking for a little bit of water. I don't know why sometimes I have a hard time getting those lids to go back on. Okay. Let's get a stack of paper. And now I need a brush too. Let's use this fan brush. I'm gonna mix that in. See what this is like. Ooh, that's really deep. I'm interested to know how this feels texture-wise. versus the coffee, and then the spray. I wonder if I'll be able to tell any difference. Now this is streaky because I used a smaller brush. It is light. The color is lightening up a little bit on that side. It feels about the same, really. Drip some of that blue on there. Relatively no mess, right? Let's see what we got. I'm really pushing the envelope here. That looks cool. Don't forget you want to hover it first. You'll feel that your iron will not grip, it'll start to glide. I've also done this where I've dripped my paint or the dye or my coffee on my jelly plate and just, picked up the moisture that way. And that also works pretty well. Look, that's cool. That'd be a cool page in a journal, I think. So that's it for me for today's Bricolage Daily. I hope you gained something out of this, and maybe you'll give this easy paper dyeing method a try. Let me know if you do. Leave me a message. Leave me a comment. That would be great. See if it works well for you like it works well for me. Maybe I'll call this a lazy man's way to dye paper. Ooh, maybe that'd be good. All right, I'm out. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next live or the next video. I'll be live tomorrow morning, January 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.